Hello and welcome to Car Dealer Live. I'm James Baggett, I'm the founder of Car Dealer Magazine, and today we're talking used car values with the head of valuations for CAP HPI. It's Derren Martin again. Derren, thank you very much for joining me today. Crazy market at the moment. It's been a while since I caught up with you and a while since I caught up on what's happening. What can you tell us?
Hi James, yeah, pleasure to be back on. It's gone crazy again during September. It's ramped up again. I hold my hands up. Last time when I was on with James, I said that I thought it would go up by 2% this month. So we've cut off our values today really. It's gone up nearly 6%, so 5.9%, which is £860, something like that, on a 3-year-old car. In just a few weeks. It's got seems to have ramped up from the middle of the month, maybe sort of around the 9th, 10th of the month actually, increased again. A bit of a feeding frenzy out there really for stock, I think, and it's just gone crazy.
And those figures are on last month. We're not talking this year. That's the increase on last month's numbers.
Yes, yeah, that's what's happened during September compared to the previous to the month, the values at the start of the month, basically. Yeah, so they've gone up by that amount. Yeah.
So remind me, Derren, how much have they gone up this year now on average?
It's about 26%, I think, something like that. It's really unbelievable.
26% is a huge rise, isn't it, for used cars? So I'm just digging into that a little bit more. You say that from September, mid-September onwards, these cars have started increasing again. Do you think that's something to do with these people who have missed out on a new car, who've gone to the dealer and thinking they've wanted a 71 plate and realised that they can't buy it and have then gone to the used market?
That's certainly added to the demand. Yeah, that's another another factor into it now. So we've had accidental savers, we've had pent up demand, people who haven't bought over this period of time, people are now naturally due to change, people who just fancy a change, and now you throw in, they're going to a dealer to buy a new car. They get told, I mean, we're hearing 12-month lead times for some cars that have been taken off completely that you can't buy. Some cars that are just not being produced, and they're volume cars now for the foreseeable future. So but you can get a used car, but it's going to cost you. And if you want a car, in this day and age, you want something, you want it now, really, don't you? So it's very much playing into the hands for used car market. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's this Amazon Prime nature, isn't it? For everything, you expect to be able to go into wherever it is and have it tomorrow, and that's the same with cars. People don't expect to wait 12 months for a car. They're just not used to it. But what do you think is having the biggest impact, Derren? Is it the semiconductor shortage? Is it the fact that people have got pent up demand out there and want to buy something? Is it the fact that people have got spare cash and they're treating themselves? What's having the biggest impact on pushing these prices up?
It's everything, but it's very much demand being strong and supply now being constrained by the semiconductor shortage and other components, supply chain, and that type of thing. My personal view is that the pandemic was having an impact earlier on in the summer because plants have been closed. There was the pingdemic. There were plants that weren't at full capacity, maybe 3 shifts, normally down to 2. That was the issue earlier on in the summer, but now it's a semiconductor shortage. I don't think the semiconductor shortage, even though people were talking about it, was that prevalent until probably July, August time. But now we speak to all the manufacturers, obviously, and there's to varying degrees, the lead times are getting worse. They're not expecting the cars through quite when they were. They maybe thought they'd be delayed until the end of the year. It's now getting pushed into next year. Very, very, very brand dependent. But really, I don't think we're going to get back to any sort of normality until the second half of next year.
No, I strongly agree with you there. I mean, if you're a consumer and you're sat on a used car and you think you need to sell it, is now the best time to sell it?
I would sell it. I sold my mum's car. I didn't wait. So, I mean, you can wait. I think prices when they're not going to come crashing down anytime soon, you could sell them and make strong money now and a bird in the hand and all that. I would probably sell now. We do think that values will probably go up again, but I keep saying they can't keep going up by this amount. We've got cars that are above list. I know a lot of cars that are above list, and I know you did an article on it, and we've had the national press very interested in it now, so consumers are getting aware. that their cars are worth more. And in some cases, you've got cars that have gone up by you've got Saphiras that have gone up by £5,000. It's a Saphira.
Who wants a Zafira? That really does amaze me, Derren. But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, to see these national press catch up with what we've been saying for months, isn't it? I mean, we said this right at the start when we started seeing this, how unprecedented it was, and now consumers are catching on. Will that mean that there is a slight tide turned on this supply? Do you think people are suddenly going to realise, well, my car's worth 26% more than it was at the start of the year, I might as well cash in now, and will that ease supply a little?
I'm not sure that it will. There aren't that many people that will sell a car and not want to buy one. Obviously, there will be some that do that, but generally you want to sell and then you want to buy. But all you've got to do that is fund the difference, and obviously on monthly payments, that's probably fairly reasonable as well. If future values have gone up as well, so the sort of the guaranteed future value or the residual value in the future, then if this is a movement up of values, then in the future they're going to be strong. Then the amount you're funding is not too bad. So I don't think demand is going to drop away anytime soon. But so if you're going to sell a car, you're probably going to go and buy another one that keeps it fresh and makes you happy. So there will be some that maybe you've got 3 cars in the family and they realise they're working from home, they only need 2, or 2 that go down to 1. But that isn't going to touch the sides on the stock situation and the supply situation. We've seen so the wholesale data that we receive, it's about it's over 20% less than at this time last year. It's about just under 15% less than at the same time in 2019. So definitely lower volumes out there. Most of that is driven by manufacturers that haven't been churning their company cars or the demos. Leasing companies, rental companies, they're just not getting the new car supply to sell those cars in the used market. The auctions are doing okay still, so there's still plenty of volume from there. But that's because conversion rates are up rather than they've got more supply.
And where are you seeing the biggest growth, Derren? I mean, what certain cars should people be shifting quickly now if they've got them?
It's across the board. It's across the board. Previously, it was the aspirational cars that were going up. They're not going up by as much now necessarily. It's the commodity cars. It's the Saphiras. It's the Astras. It's the Cougar. It's models like that. Toyota Auris that went down previously. The hybrid is now going up fairly rapidly. Some of the figures they are eye-watering. I think James was sort of looking last month at the V class gone up by. I think it had gone up by 11 grand. It's now gone up by 14 grand in the last 6 or 7 months. There's obviously different reasons for different cars going up in value. It's it is unbelievable. It is you can throw anything you want at it superlatively wise because it is mental.
Who would have thought we would be discussing these sorts of things at the start of the pandemic? I mean, I just want to touch on before we go those used cars that are selling for more than new. I was amazed that Dacia Sandero was at the top of that list, 21.8% more in the used market than it is new. Do you think, I mean, a lot of these cars on here were premium cars from Porsche and the likes. Do you think we're going to see more of this going forward as supply of those new cars dwindles?
I think it's certainly possible. Yeah, you've got a couple of Dacias on there that they're good value anyway, aren't they? You've got sort of things like the Mustang. I think that list will probably increase if values go up by next month. As I said, I don't think they'll go up by as much, but I have called that wrong in the past. So, but yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with new car values, whether the manufacturers put their new car prices up, because that could obviously help some of this residual value. These increases stay high for longer. Whether they'll do that or not, we're a bit surprised they haven't done that already. So there is definitely the potential to do it. But generally, cars going above new cars is not sustainable. And the more they go up, then the more likely they are to come down heavier if they do go above list. I think prior to that sort of phenomenon happening, it was probably that it could have been a resetting of used car values up. But the more they go above list, that, as I say, that isn't sustainable. And we've got 1-year-old cars with 10,000 miles on the clock that are worth more than a new car. So it's generally not sustainable for that.
Crazy times, Derren, and I'm sure it's making your job rather interesting and probably pretty stressful.
It's never been more interesting, and I think it's going to be that way for some time yet. So, yeah.
Well, please keep us informed. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Derren. Okay, for more Car Dealer Live videos like this one, you can log on to cardealermagazine.co.uk and click on the Live tab at the top of the page. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.